Chapter 191, Yamata no Orochi. This deep-sea monster had 8 appendages with snakeheads at the tip. They were all roaring soundlessly, appearing like heads but also appearing like tails. The gigantic stomach was covered in darkness. It radiated an extremely savage aura, and its form greatly resembled the world-destroying monster Yamata no Orochi of the Japanese legends. Ignoring the fact whether this was it or not, just by its tyrannical appearance, this creature was definitely a hegemon-level life-form at the depths of the ocean. Yamata no Orochi, everywhere it passed, the surroundings would become a zone of death. No living creatures would exist here, and those who could flee would have fled long ago. The 8 appendages of the Yamata no Orochi spread out. It was unknown when that severed appendage had regrown. The Yamata no Orochi battered the flower-fruit mountain, continuously slamming its appendages at it, creating thunderous sounds. This worm that killed its kid had entered into this metallic shell. How would it give up? It treated the flying shuttle as a mortal enemy and was frenziedly attacking it. However, it could do nothing more. The flower-fruit mountain shuttle was created from the pinnacle of science and technology. Its body was incomparably tough and durable, and wasn't something a mere monster could break. If not, how could users survive in it when they explored the universe with its multiple complex and dangerous environments? What made Feng-Lin feel puzzled was that he had no idea when he had offended this monster. Was there a grudge between them? Why would it pursue him so relentlessly? A scene suddenly flashed through his mind. A cuttlefish-like sea monster was severed into pieces by him earlier. Could that be a child of this Yamata no Orochi? Staring at the crazed state the monster was in, a slight smile appeared on Feng-Lin's face. He was completely speechless. After killing the young one, the old one comes? Since the cub had been killed, no wonder this mother Yamata no Orochi would act so crazily. But how could this be blamed on him? Feng-Lin was just innocently defending himself against an attack. He silently cultivated in this area, but that sea monster had attacked him. He couldn't help but agree that the appearance of this Yamata no Orochi was extremely terrifying. Now that he could see it clearly, its total length was over 100 meters and each appendage contained overwhelming might, causing the flying shuttle to tremble intensely. With such tyrannical might, if Feng-Lin really fought with it in the waters outside, he couldn't be this monster's match. Feng-Lin wasn't a brainless idiot. Why wouldn't he make use of his flying shuttle since it was present? Why would he head out to fight the monster one-on-one? Wouldn't he be courting death? Was he a fool? Clearly, he was not. The flying shuttle was constructed from the toughest and most durable alloys. There was no need to doubt how solid it was. This Yamata no Orochi might seem ferocious, and its attacks generated thunderous noises. However, it had no way to damage the flying shuttle at all. Upon realizing that the metallic shell was undamaged despite its repeated blows, the Yamata no Orochi grew even more berserk. It opened its maw wide as different types of energy could be seen gathering within. In an instant, lava, ice, wind blast, all sorts of attributes blasted out. 8 types of energy gathered into a powerful current, heavily smashing upon the flying shuttle. Ring, ring, ring. A notification sound rang out from the shuttle's AI, attention. There's a transcendent life form attacking the shuttle. Should I activate the counterattack measure? Transcendent life form? Feng-Lin felt somewhat puzzled. Transcendent life forms were the same as cultivators. They had control over transcendent powers. It was just that cultivators were referring to races from intelligent civilizations, while transcendent life forms referred to beasts and monsters. One must know that there was no lack of powerful creatures in the various mythologies. This Yamata no Orochi from Japanese legends couldn't be considered anything. Just from a single Mountain Ansi Sutra of Huaxia mythology, there were already countless strange beasts, Qiangqi, Xianglu, Pishio. And as for Western mythology, some examples were hydras, Medusa. They were the same as humans. Beasts also had sleeping mythological genes in their bodies. It was just that their intelligence was much lower, and they had no way to consciously awaken their mythological genes and step upon the cultivation path. However, given how vast the universe was, there were all sorts of wonders. Some animals managed to awaken their mythological genes passively due to luck and fortune and gain an increase in their intelligence. Their natural instincts allowed them to control transcendent powers, and all these creatures were known as transcendent life forms. This monster before his eyes was actually a transcendent life form? Could it really be a true Yamata no Orochi? No, that's wrong. This is illogical. Earth has long since lost all spirit particles. How could there still be transcendent life forms? One must know that the resources which the cultivators on Earth needed were all funneled through other places in the universe. There were basically no more environments on Earth where one could absorb spirit particles. Naturally, this monster couldn't be a naturally born, transcendent life form. In that case, there was only a single possibility. This Yamata no Orochi was artificially created by humans, like how the giant pharmaceutical company artificially created the Titan. Fenglin instinctively felt that this was an experiment of the Japanese. Japan was located near the Mariana Trench, and they loved doing experiments that shouldn't see the light of the day. Also, the Yamata no Orochi was a mythological creature from their legends. Maybe, through genetic engineering, they restored an aspect of the true Yamata no Orochi by using a cuttlefish as the base form and creating this monster? Fenglin felt that the possibility of this was very high. The Mariana Trench was nearby and also immeasurably deep. It was very suitable for the Japanese to rear an artificial Yamata no Orochi. No one would discover it. At this moment, that Yamata no Orochi was still launching energy attacks, causing the flying shuttle to vibrate intensely from the impact. After Fenglin had this thought, he decided not to waste time any longer. After capturing this creature, wouldn't all its secret lay bare for him to inspect? If a tiger doesn't exert its dominance, would you treat it like a sickly cat? Zixia, switch over to unrestricted free attacking mode. Fenglin gave the order. Yes, Captain, the AI of the flying shuttle, Zixia replied. The flying shuttle didn't need Fenglin to manually control it. The AI was sufficient for this task. A panel on the flying shuttle opened up, revealing a light ray cannon that blasted out a pillar of light. The fiery energy instantly immolated the Yamata no Orochi. It also exuded an immensely sharp force that severed its appendages. The tip of the flying shuttle kept ramming into the Yamata no Orochi, and soon after, the creature revolved around repeatedly in the waters before sinking into the depths from the impact. However, it was modeled after a terrifying beast from the legends. How could it give up so easily? The savage aura in its bones wouldn't permit it. The Yamata no Orochi rushed over again, opening its mouth and unleashing another torrent of energy attacks. At this moment, with a ringing sound, an ionic light shield manifested around the flying shuttle, easily blocking all the energy attacks. As expected of a Foundation flying shuttle, its defensive capabilities were shockingly high. Fenglin silently nodded. If it didn't have such defensive power, this flying shuttle wouldn't be able to freely enter and exit the various vile environments in the universe to establish a foundation base of humanity and transform the vile environments into something suitable for humans to live in. It naturally had many other capabilities. Even though Fenglin was the owner of this flying shuttle, he still wasn't very clear on the entire set of capabilities this flying shuttle had. The power of this Yamata no Orochi was simply a joke before the flying shuttle. It was completely useless. The light ray cannon continued firing. Since it also had a lock-on mode, there was no way for the Yamata no Orochi to flee. The monster howled in pain as its appendages were severed once again. No matter how powerful the monster's recovery was, it could no longer resist. And no matter how savage it was, it still felt fear before the danger of death. The stumps of its appendages flapped rapidly, and it resembled a giant cuttlefish trying to flee. It wanted nothing more than to grow more appendages so it could hasten its speed in the water. Feng Lin had suffered a major loss earlier from the damage he took. How could he allow it to flee so easily? Therefore, he controlled the flying shuttle, and it shot forth rapidly, transforming into a silver light and diving into the depths of the ocean in pursuit. Chapter 192. Snake Gall Treasure Pearls. The black silhouette was like a tiny mountain pushing the waters aside as the 8 appendages moved wildly. Blood trailed behind it, dyeing the sea water red. A gigantic silver flying shuttle was following it from behind. The ray cannon continued firing energy beams, causing the nearby sea water to boil. All other objects in the surroundings that obstructed its path were vaporized. 11,000 meters, 12,000 meters, 13,000 meters. One was fleeing while the other was in hot pursuit. The Yamata no Orochi and the flying shuttle continued diving into the depths of the Mariana Trench. The gathered light beams shot out like a sword cleaving through the darkness, slicing off the thick appendages of the Yamata no Orochi. Earlier, this Yamata no Orochi acted like the supreme world-destroying beast from the legends and was extremely imposing and ferocious. But now, it acted like a defeated dog, frenziedly fleeing away, wanting nothing more than to grow a few more appendages to increase its speed. It was also roaring in agony and pain, the sound waves traveling through the water clearly. So what even if it was a terrifying monster? Before the pinnacle of science and technology, it was nothing but trash. External means referred to science and technology, and internal means referred to cultivation. These two were the most common means used by interstellar humans. There was no relative superiority, but they were both means of different paths. Before a cultivator truly matured, he or she would still be unable to resist the power of science and technology and would be dominated. After all, there was no upper limit to the degree of power capable of being generated by science. With sufficient reserves of energy as well as materials, it wasn't impossible for a weapon created by science and technology to destroy a planet. Currently, among one of the most terrifying weapons humanity possessed, the planetary annihilation cannon was capable of destroying a small planet with a single shot. The might it possessed was terrifying to the extreme. Unless a cultivator reached the level equal to gods and possessed an undying body, he would be nothing but trash before such a terrifying weapon born from science and technology. Right now, he didn't care how fast the Yamata no Orochi was fleeing. Feng Lin controlled the shuttle and chased closely behind it, not willing to spare it. This wasn't because of hatred. Feng Lin wouldn't be so obstinate as to nurse a grudge against a monster with no intelligence. The Yamata no Orochi could only blame itself for being an extremely rare existence. There was surely a transcendent organ in it since it could be classified as a transcendent life form. No matter if it was alive or dead, this monster was akin to a treasure trove. In the past, Feng Lin had already obtained a Titan's heart. However, the grade of energy was too high, and he only had one Titan's heart. He didn't want to do any experiments on it for fear of damaging such a precious item. 15,000 meters, 16,000 meters, 17,000 meters. He continued pursuing and soon arrived at the 20,000-meter depth. The water was as dark as ink. No light could penetrate through to this depth. The flying shuttle had to use special wave positioning technology to determine and locked on to the Yamata no Orochi. At this moment, that monster was in an incomparably pathetic shape. The appendages it had were severed off once again, leaving only a single head. After chasing it for so long, Feng Lin also saw many clues. This monster was definitely an artificial genetic creature created by humans based on the legendary Yamada no Orochi's template. If it was truly the world-destroying beast, it wouldn't be so weak. In Japanese mythology, the Yamada no Orochi was an undying existence. Only by using special methods would one be able to kill it. In truth, the stories stated that the divine being Susanoo had used the sword of Tatsuka to kill it. Upon seeing that the monster only appeared strong externally, Feng Lin no longer had thoughts of playing with it. He commanded in a low voice, "Zixia, use full power and kill it." "Yes, Captain," replied the AI Zixia. Many different panels on the surface of the flying shuttle opened up, revealing numerous ray cannons. All of them gathered power in an instant and blasted out a gigantic energy wave. This attack was like a solar storm, instantly causing the nearby waters to evaporate, becoming boiling steam. The violent energy instantly locked onto the Yamada no Orochi, engulfing it as it howled in hellish pain. The gigantic monster writhed about, its appendages convulsing violently. But gradually, it stopped moving. No signs of life emanated from it any longer. After the light ray cannons were retracted, only a charred gigantic body could be seen in the waters. The carcass was rapidly sinking, but a robotic arm shot out from the shuttle and pulled it back into the shuttle. Feng Lin walked over to the outer cabin and inspected the corpse. Countless sphere-shaped robots had various tools in their hands as they started to dissect the monster. After the pale white flesh was cut open, the steam rose as a charred smell permeated the air. The monster's carcass was soon completely cut apart by military robots. Its bones were also piled up into a small mountain. Hua! All of a sudden, the cabin lit up. A green-colored treasure pearl was dug from one of the snakeheads, which was the Yamada no Orochi's appendages, bathing the area with a greenish glow. That wasn't the end yet. More treasure pearls were dug out from the other 7 appendages. Each of the pearls glowed with a different colored light, shining resplendently and flowing with light, illuminating the surroundings. What an unexpected surprise! Feng Lin knew that the Yamada no Orochi would surely have a transcendent organ. It was just that he didn't expect to find 8 transcendent organs at one go. This was slightly beyond his expectations. Is this a snake gall? There are 8 snake heads, so there must be 8 snake galls. Feng Lin sensed the abundance of energy within the snake gall treasure pearls. Each had a different attribute: fiery heat, icy cold. Each treasure pearl had a unique energy attribute to them, and all of them could be considered transcendent organs, possessing unfathomable might. After losing these 8 pearls, the appendages of the Yamada no Orochi became useless. Feng Lin didn't find that pleasing to the eye and commanded the robots of the flying shuttle to handle the mess. His eyes stared fixedly at the treasure pearls as his heart stirred with excitement. Transcendent organs where the essence of transcendent creatures gathered. If he could refine that into medicine, the refined medicine would undoubtedly contain immense energy and nutrients. It would be extremely beneficial to cultivators. If the refinement of medicine could really succeed, Feng Lin wouldn't lack genetic potions for a long time in the future. Before this, he only had a single Titan's heart. Feng Lin didn't dare to do any casual experiments on it. But now, he had a total of 8 treasure pearls. He had no qualms about using some of them in an experiment. Even if one was damaged, he would still have 7 of them. This was truly an unexpected joy. Even if a few treasure pearls were damaged from his experiments, he wouldn't feel too much pain. Feng Lin didn't hesitate. He immediately commanded the AI to show him the information with regards to genetic potions that were stored in the flying shuttle. All the concoction methods and information about different genetic potions possessed by the giant pharmaceutical company were recorded in the AI. There were over 10,000 recipes, each with different medicinal effects. There should be one that was suitable for the current him. Also, the instruments and equipment in the flying shuttle were naturally top-notch. There was no lack of them. Feng Lin was extremely satisfied, as he would be able to use them to concoct the genetic potion he wanted. Through the holographic projection, countless recipes appeared before him, causing one's vision to dazzle. Feng Lin wasn't so foolish as to look through them one by one. He set the parameter and told the AI to filter out all the irrelevant information. Zixia, show me those recipes for genetic potions that require transcendent organs as ingredients. Also, ensure that the ingredients needed are all available in the flying shuttle's storage. The projection shown by the AI kept flickering as it commenced rapid calculation and filtering. Very soon, a recipe appeared before Feng Lin. Transcendent Holy Water. Chapter 193, Crystallized Holy Water. Transcendent Holy Water. This was the first medicinal recipe suggested by the AI. Therefore, Feng Lin decided to ignore the other medicinal recipe temporarily for now. Through large amounts of data, the AI could instantly analyze countless possibilities. The results of its search would undoubtedly be the most suitable for his needs. Since this medicinal recipe had appeared first, it would be enough reason for Feng Lin to choose. Feng Lin didn't feel that his own intelligence would be superior to the AI. Thus, believing in the power of science was naturally an intelligent choice. Clicking open the recipe, he discovered that this was an extremely unique genetic potion. It was a flawless grade low Martial tier product. This holy water didn't have much medicinal effect by itself, but it was a kind of universal fusion agent that would draw out all the unique properties of the transcendent organs into the holy water, allowing it to unleash its greatest effect. This was an excellent ability. He didn't need to do anything much to the transcendent organs, and the failure rate of concocting the genetic potion would be greatly reduced. Usually, a genetic potion would only yield 10% medicinal effect of the various ingredients used to concoct it. Therefore, it would truly be a waste of valuable resources if he didn't have the recipe for this holy water. 36g of ice crystal powder, 11g of sky heart snow lotus, 92 milliliters of violet solution. The recipe listed the various ingredients required. Since the AI presented this to him, it naturally meant that the ingredients of the recipe could all be found in the flying shuttle's storage. Very soon, the robots of the shuttle brought all of the required ingredients out, displaying them to Feng Lin. However, he wasn't in a hurry to start concocting. He seriously studied the holographic projection. Inside the projection, he could see many researchers in white lab coats busy modulating the potion. These were the recordings of this transcendent holy water's concoction by the staff of the giant pharmaceutical company. Each step was accurate to the extreme, precise, and detailed. The projection degree was 360 degrees, and there were no dead angles. Everything could be seen clearly. After watching one time, Feng Lin slowly closed his eyes and thought back to the steps he had seen. Each step required attention to the tiniest details, but luckily as his spirit force improved, his ability to memorize things with a single glance was also greatly enhanced. He could remember all the procedures clearly. After ensuring that what he remembered was correct, he opened his eyes, and his hands started to move about according to what the procedures needed. His set of hands moved like flowing water, as though he had created the transcendent holy water for over 1,000 times. Next, he methodically arranged the various medicine components and slowly added them together. A few moments later, a refreshing fragrance permeated the area, causing the blood of those who smelled it to surge. Clearly, although the holy water was only 50% completed, there were already some initial medicinal effects. Feng Lin's hands didn't stop moving. He continued adding different medicinal components and followed the procedures he had seen in the holographic projection earlier. In the end, a fire was lit and the impurities in the potion evaporated. Very soon, a bottle of potion roughly 50 milliliters in volume appeared. It was as clear as water and exuded a great fragrance. The medicinal properties of the different medicinal components had been perfectly combined. Only the last step of spiritual conception was required. Feng Lin was in full concentration. He added the spirit particles and the final ingredient, the starlight powder. However, he actually failed at this last step. Because he didn't have any experience, he added 0.5 grams too much. An intense reaction occurred, and the potion in his hand exploded. Feng Lin agilely dodged to the side. He shook his head and cleaned up the mess before starting the concoction process again. After absorbing the experience of this failure, he grew even more cautious. His spirit force gushed forth, sensing the minute change to the medicinal components. He ensured that each concoction step was done to perfection. Now, Feng Lin was in a marvelous state. Every subtle change and reaction that was occurring in the potion was completely sensed by him. Nothing was missed out. The longer he was in this state, the more he felt the natural superiority of using spirit force to probe the concoction. No wonder alchemy in ancient times would require mental and spiritual energy. Not only did alchemists need to control the fire, but they still had to sense the myriad of changes that would occur to the medicinal components before they could succeed in their concoction. Sadly, alchemy needed all of that, as well as the ability to control fire. Until now, Feng Lin still hadn't managed to learn the way to control the temperature of flames with his spirit force. Because, if his control was imperfect, all attempts at pill concoctions would surely end up as a failure. He could only walk down this path step by step. In any case, he decided to focus on potion concoction for now and leave alchemy for the future. After the previous experience, Feng Lin didn't make any more mistakes. He added the correct amount of starlight powder, and at this moment, the clear solution from before turned amber, emitting fragrance. However, things hadn't ended yet. He didn't stop. He ignored his exhaustion and continued until a total of 1,000 milliliters of transcendent holy water was refined. Feng Lin took out a purple, fist-sized snake gall pearl and slowly placed it into the holy water. The holy water instantly reacted. It was like a solution that could melt everything. The treasure pearl transformed into a liquid from the solid state as its surface grew smaller. Purple substances continued to seep out from it into the holy water, resembling clouds and mist. In the end, the bottle of solution was faint purplish red, and intense energy undulations radiated from it. Faint points of starlight could be seen moving about in it. It was extremely mystical. At this step, the transcendent holy water was finally completed. Feng Lin didn't stop. After all, he had created a medicine crystallization technique to solidify the essence of different genetic potions into a crystal-like pill. The crystalline structure of the pill would ensure that the medicinal essence wouldn't dissipate and that the medicinal effects reached the highest degree. Also, it was more convenient to store it like this and carry it around. Since he had created this technique, if he didn't make use of it, wouldn't it be a waste? Now there was 1,000 milliliters transcendent holy water. He took a vial and poured 50 milliliters into it before he began using the crystallization technique. Feng Lin first placed the potion into the container as he heated it up. After that, he used the alchemy technique he had learned to ensure that the molecules joined tightly together, becoming a crystalline structure which would lock the medicinal potency within. Under the control of his spirit force, the potion transformed into a solid state, as the beautiful and magnificent crystalline structure within took on the form of a rhombus. Crackle. Feng Lin still suffered from his experience. He didn't understand the unique characteristics of the transcendent water and had allowed the temperature to surge too high. The crystalline structure was charred and shattered apart, rendering everything useless. However, he wasn't dispirited. Refining potions was originally an incredibly precise work that didn't allow for the slightest of mistakes. Failure was something very common. He restarted the whole process again, and after another 5 to 6 failures, he finally managed to concoct a crystallized version of transcendent holy water. The object in his hand was a pentagram-shaped purple crystal. Beautiful flashes of light could be seen within, easily attracting the attention of people. Fenglin was confident in his own technique. He lifted his head and swallowed the tiny crystal in one gulp. The moment the crystal entered his stomach, the medicinal effect instantly gushed forth. Fenglin felt as if an atomic bomb had gone off inside, as boundless warmth instantly flooded his entire body. Chapter 194, Surging Spirit Force. The crystalline structure would lock the medicinal potency in, releasing them in waves. On the surface, there seemed to be no energy fluctuation. But the moment he swallowed it, Fenglin felt fiery energy akin to lava coursing through his entire body. He felt like a volcano that was on the verge of eruption. As expected of a genetic potion formed with a transcendent organ. This powerful medicinal potency was something Fenglin had never experienced before. The medicinal potency flooded his entire being waves after waves, challenging Fenglin's mental and physical resistance. Fenglin cast out all thoughts of distraction and guarded his state of mind, enduring the hellish pain. At the same time, he also activated transforming energy into qi to aid him in digesting the medicinal potency. The fiery medicinal potency was transformed into milder energy that seeped into his entire body. It felt like cool spring water raining down on his head. His entire body felt barren as he frenziedly absorbed that mild energy and nutrients to strengthen himself. Fenglin's body began to swell up like a balloon. He now resembled a stuffed fatty. The nutrients and energy provided by the potion were simply too abundant. All this medicinal potency being packed into a tiny crystal seemed somewhat of an exaggeration. Burp. Fenglin involuntarily let out a belch, and a thick amount of steam was issued from his mouth. If this continued on, he would soon become a fire-breathing dragon. Fire, fire, fire. His body flushed red, as though he was being burned by flames. His sweat continued perspiring, and the violent energy within him circulated frenziedly like ocean tides, filling his body with strength to the point where he felt like he was about to explode. He activated refining energy into qi with full force, rapidly digesting the overflowing energy. Fenglin's body turned wizened, but soon swelled up with strength once more. After that, the cycle repeated itself again and again. During this process, he felt pain all over his body. Fenglin gritted his teeth tightly. His organs, his muscles, his bones, all of them were being broken down to atoms and reconstructed back, a cycle of destruction followed by rebirth. His form slowly grew more perfect. Genetic potions were created in the first place to strengthen the bodies of humans. The original structure of the human body would break down and reform, and this intense transformation also meant extreme agony and pain. After experiencing so many things, Fenglin's will was as tough as iron. He gritted his teeth and resolutely guarded the hint of clarity in his mind, refusing to fall into the deep darkness of unconsciousness. Genetic potential plus 86%, plus 86%, plus 86%. Also, this unswerving determination allowed his genetic potential to surge crazily, just like a rocket shooting through the air. Very soon, his genetic potential reached over 1000%, and he gained a free primeval genetic point. One couldn't help but admit that as a transcendent creature, the Yamada no Orochi's body was truly filled with vibrant energy. Just the transcendent holy water that concocted from a single treasure pearl from it allowed such rapid improvements to Fenglin's cultivation. Since this was the case, he could finally see the hope of breaking through to the elite cultivator realm before the second round of examination. This bout of hard work and effort was worth it. Feng Lin continued to cultivate, focusing on fully refining the medicinal potency. As the medicinal potency was gradually digested, the violent waves grew calmer, but they still felt like floodwater gushing into all his meridians. Genetic potential plus 80%, plus 80%, plus 80%. The gain in his genetic potential gradually slowed down, however, the speed was still considered extremely fast. Very soon, his genetic potential would reach 2000%. Also, his spirit force was strengthened immensely after he endured the hellish pain. By steeling himself and depending on his will to resist the pain, his spirit force kept increasing. When he had been in torment and agony earlier, his state of mind seemed to have been refined by the flames of pain. He had unconsciously depended on his spirit force to tide him through. Now, his spirit force grew more corporeal. If it was a formless gust of wind in the past, it could be described as a cloud of mist now, something more material compared to the past. With a sweep of his spirit force, he could sense everything. The minuscule details in his vision also grew more precise. In the past, if his microscopic sight had been at 100x, it was now at 120x, 140x, 160x, and the preciseness continued to increase. Things hadn't ended yet. As his genetic potential broke through the 2000%, Feng Lin now had 2 free primeval genetic points. He didn't hesitate and added them to his spirit gene, causing the strengthening tally to become 6 from 4. Boom! His spirit force was instantly enhanced. Wild winds rose and thunderous tension of a storm could be felt in the air, emitting sounds of explosions. But Feng Lin wasn't too joyful. The strengthening tally of his spirit gene had reached 6, but his vitality stat was only at a pathetic 94.8. Despite adding 2 free primeval genetic points to the spirit gene, his vitality stat only increased by 1.2. Although his spirit force had increased, adding the points to strengthen his gene didn't really increase his vitality by that much. Each point only gave him a 0.6 increase. Wasn't this too little? Could it be that the stats limit of an interstellar cultivator was really limited at 100? It was impossible to break through this limit? Although he couldn't confirm this, the current scene had undoubtedly shown him part of the truth. The nearer he was to the absolute limit, the lesser his vitality would increase by. Every point of increment was now extremely precious. It seemed like he had to break through to the elite cultivator realm as quickly as possible. If he didn't take the step and leap over the dragon gate, evolving into a transcendent life form, his vitality stats would always be stuck here. Feng Lin calmed his emotions and continued to cultivate. Genetic potential plus 68%, plus 68%, plus 68%. He immersed himself in the joy of his surging genetic potential. However, before he could be happy for too long, a warning notification sound rang out from the flying shuttle's AI. Warning. 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 Captain, please take note that an unknown artificial object is discovered ahead. Feng Lin opened his eyes. An unknown artificial object? One must know that he was already at a depth of over 20,000 meters in the Mariana Trench. There was actually artificial objects here? What sort of object would that be? Curiosity appeared in Feng Lin's heart. During the time when he was cultivating, the flying shuttle had been diving deeper all this while, and it had already reached a depth of 24,128 meters. He could be considered to have arrived at the internal area of this great oceanic trench. This should be the nest of the Yamada no Orochi. Are there other unknown, artificial objects here? Could more secrets be concealed around this place? Feng Lin suddenly felt extremely interested. He felt a sense of excitement at going deep into the sea to search for treasures. He controlled the flying shuttle and continued diving downward. the light from the shuttle illuminated the surroundings. Reflected light flickering resplendently could be seen in the far distance. The flying shuttle moved toward that direction, and after a rapid scan of the strange object's appearance, a three-dimensional picture appeared. This was actually a strange-looking pillar. It had a thick base, but the higher it got, the thinner the body became. It was roughly about 100+ meters in circumference, and its length was immeasurable, deep enough that Feng Lin couldn't see the bottom of it. The flying shuttle continued to dive, and the iron pillar also continuously extended downward as though it was limitless in length. Only when Feng Lin had arrived at the bottom of the Mariana Trench did he discover that this iron pillar was embedded deep within the seabed. Even now, he still didn't know how long this pillar was. Feng Lin felt extremely curious. How long was this iron pillar exactly? There were actually traces of an artificial object from it? Who created this? As the flying shuttle continued scanning, a three-dimensional hologram of the entire thing appeared. To his astonishment, Feng Lin discovered that the tip of this iron pillar was embedded into a gigantic island at the surface of the water as though it was supporting the island. This iron pillar seemed indestructible and felt like the work of gods, a supernatural fine craft. His heart stirred as he suddenly thought of something. Could this be the legendary divine pillar in Japanese mythology? Chapter 195, Divine Pillar. Ever since the ancient Earth era, the island of Japan had been sliding toward the Mariana Trench every year. Also, Japan itself was a country with many earthquakes, and each earthquake would exacerbate the problem, accelerating this process further. At that time, the scientists had already speculated that a few thousand years later, the entire Japan sink into the Mariana Trench, never appearing on the ocean's surface again. However, 10,000 years had passed and not only did Japan not vanish, but the Japanese seemed to flourish and become even more prosperous. The prediction of the scientists wasn't actually wrong. Such a situation didn't occur because of the change in era. Thus, new technology was developed which prevented that from happening. After humanity left the solar system and began to awaken the power of mythological genes, they didn't forsake the solar system immediately. As spirit particles were made known to everyone, some of the ancient mythological ruins in the solar system were gradually excavated. All of these were traces left behind by the cultivation civilizations in ancient times and were remnants of their respective mythology. Their presence often attracted countless humans to fight over them. This was especially so for the region near the East China Sea. A gigantic mythological ruin had been dug out from the sea. At that moment, all the Asian countries had acted like sharks that had seen the blood, rushing into it and fighting among themselves. Some of them had obtained countless wondrous treasures, and each possessed unfathomable power. But since then, 3,000 years had already passed. There was no longer any information with regards to treasures from the mythological ruins of the East China Sea. However, there were still stories about a treasure that had been circulated even until now. That was none other than the fact that Japan had obtained an extremely wondrous treasure back then. They had then transformed this treasure into a gigantic pillar and engineered a way to embed it inside the seabed of the Mariana Trench, supporting the entire Japan. This caused the sinking process to stop. It was a miracle indeed. And that treasure, because it took on the form of a giant pillar, became known as the Japanese Divine Pillar and was viewed by the Japanese as something with the traces of divine objects. This should be proof that their god, Amaterasu Amikami, had shown them a favor. Could it be that this giant pillar under the sea was the Japanese Divine Pillar? Although this was also the first time Feng Lin saw this, he was incomparably sure of his judgment. After all, not everything could extend over 20,000 meters deep into the sea. He controlled the flying shuttle and continued to scan the pillar. He discovered that this pillar was perfectly round in circumference and kept extending downward like a heavenly pillar. It was supporting the weight of entire Japan, making it so that Japan wasn't able to sink any further. Given the bulk of the pillar and its toughness, even if there were no other special effects, it could already be considered a divine object. The AI of the flying shuttle started scanning the quality of materials that the pillar was made from. Soon after, the results were shown. According to the scanning results, this pillar was actually formed from 100% iron. There were no other impurities. Only iron? How could such a common element form this divine object? This simply didn't conform with the logic of science. But the reality was before his eyes. The technology of the Flowerfruit Mountain flying shuttle was incomparably developed, far surpassing the standards of the solar system. It was much more reliable compared to Fong Lin's own probing. If the scan of the flying shuttle had a mistake, Fong Lin wouldn't be able to discover anything either. At this moment, in the scan, a wondrous scene appeared. The image of the iron pillar's interior appeared before Fong Lin. To his astonishment, Fong Lin saw that the iron atoms of this pillar were precisely meshed together with incredible density. Each atom was a node, presenting an extremely complex web-like crystal structure. The density of the pillar was far superior compared to any other objects he knew, such a superior toughness. Also, despite further scans from the AI, the probe was no longer able to sense anything. This was because the density between the iron atoms was simply too packed. It was like this entire iron pillar was a gigantic iron atom. There were no gaps between the atoms at all, even light radiation wasn't able to seep into it. By using science and technology, Fong Lin could only see the surface of this mysterious pillar. There must be deeper secrets about this iron pillar. That should be why it could screen the probes of science and technology despite them being extremely developed. The flying shuttle circled the gigantic iron pillar once, scanning all the information it could perceive from it. Fong Lin's heart stirred, and he discovered that the shape of this Japanese divine pillar was really like a gigantic iron cudgel. Could this be the Rui golden cudgel? For some reason, this thought appeared in Fong Lin's mind. But after that, a burst of self-mocking laughter rang out. How could it be so coincidental? He was walking on the mythology path of Sun Wukong, but would he really be so fortunate as to coincidentally encounter the Rui golden cudgel? If this was the case, wouldn't his luck be way too good? In the various mythology cultures, there were quite a few gods who used cudgels as their divine weapons. In India mythology, the monkey god Hanuman was one of them. There was no need to mention about Chinese deities. Several of them used cudgels as their weapons too. Naturally, this also didn't exclude gods and deities from the other races. In any case, things wouldn't be clear unless he could confirm it with his own eyes. Fong Lin stopped the flying shuttle at the seabed. He wore a diving suit that had the words, Model 186, as he swam out. This was a diving suit manufactured by the pinnacle science and technology of the interstellar era. It was able to resist water pressure up to 50,000 meters in depth. The flying shuttle's light was shut off. Fong Lin waited with his arms and swam toward the iron pillar. When he was far away, he didn't feel that this iron pillar would be so majestic. But the closer he got to it, he felt like he was standing before a heavenly pillar that could prop the heavens up. He felt as tiny and inconsequential as an ant. Fong Lin increased his swimming speed. After he neared the pillar, his hands gently moved around on the surface. There were intricate lines carved on it, forming natural patterns. Also, these patterns kept extending, forming into different pictures. He moved nearer, observing it closely. All of a sudden, his heart pounded with shock. He discovered that for one of the pictures, these intricate patterns actually formed into a word from the ancient Chinese oracle script. Through the analysis of his AI, it was an ancient word that represented quantity. Endless fantasies appeared in Fong Lin's mind. He continued feeling the lines. Gradually, he found 8 ancient words, and upon joining them together, a rough sentence with the meaning below was formed. This object has no fixed form. It depends on the thoughts in one's heart. So it wasn't the Rui golden cudgel, the weapon of Sun Wukong? Feng Lin inevitably felt a sense of disappointment. Despite knowing that the possibility of that was very small, the feeling of one's hopes being dashed would naturally cause one to feel disappointment. But he soon adjusted his emotions. How could there be such a good thing in the world? And if there was such a powerful treasure, how could a single person like him hold on to it? Once that legendary divine weapon, the Rui golden cudgel, appeared, it would surely shake the heavens and earth. That weapon contained boundless might, and only those major interstellar supreme empires would have treasures on that level. Besides, they would only have very few of such treasures. From this fact, one could see the rarity of such divine treasures, and it was far beyond one's imagination. Even if Feng Lin obtained it, once news about this was leaked, he would also not be able to hold on to it. If this Japanese divine pillar was truly the heaven-shaking treasure in the legends, how could a small country like Japan on Earth be able to maintain their possession of it? Feng Lin no longer fantasized wildly, and seriously began to examine this iron pillar closely. Feng Lin sent his spirit force in, yet his spirit force soon rammed into some sort of barrier. The formless spirit force also had no way to seep into the iron pillar. There seemed to be a huge wall that would block all probes. This feeling felt extremely familiar. He suddenly felt excited once more. Even if this iron pillar wasn't a supreme treasure from the old mythologies, it should still be a treasure with immense capabilities that was left behind by an ancient civilization. The feeling he got from this iron pillar was very similar to the furnace he had refined in the past. Just when he was preparing to experiment more, wanting to see if he could use spirit force to attempt a refinement, a bright light suddenly flashed in the waters above him. There were actually other humans who came so deep down into the Mariana Trench. Who could these people be? Feng Lin hurriedly dodged to the side. His flying shuttle had long since entered stealth mode, not leaking any trace of his presence. A submarine as large as a whale slowly sank downward, shining with a blinding light which illuminated the surroundings. Swiftly after, over 10 people swam out from within. On their diving suit, the logo of a red sun could be seen. Feng Lin narrowed his eyes. Wasn't this the flag of Japan? These people were all Japanese. Chapter 196, Mythological Secret Realm. So this is the divine pillar supporting the weight of our country? We, Japanese, have the protection and the favor of the great god Amaterasu. We are the most elite race in the entire universe. The other races of humanity can at most be considered low-grade races. Fumakuan, well spoken. Our Yamato race will surely rise in the future and dominate the entire Milky Way galaxy. A bunch of Japanese swam toward the iron pillar in their diving suits as they mumbled with a self-satisfied look on their faces. Although their voices wouldn't be able to travel far in the water, Feng Lin's spirit force enabled him to eavesdrop on them. Feng Lin coldly snorted. These Japanese feared the strong and only knew how to bully the weak. Their evil intentions and greed knew no bounds. Regardless of the ancient Earth era or the interstellar era, the Japanese had always been a weak race. Yet, they were still like greedy wolves despite the passage of time. Truly, a leopard can't change its spots. Feng Lin surveyed the person in the lead, and when he saw who it was, he couldn't help but feel stunned. This person was none other than the Japanese guy who had passed the first round of exams before him. His vitality stats were extremely high and couldn't be underestimated. The second round of examination was about to start. Why did this person come to the Mariana Trench at this time? It didn't seem like this guy was planning to use the pressure of the deep sea to aid him for cultivation purposes. Hence, the person's true purpose for coming here is definitely not so simple. Feng Lin's sharp senses as a cultivator told him that something was wrong. He decided to silently follow after them. The man in the lead was clearly growing impatient. Let's talk later, make haste and enter the divine temple first. Accomplishing the major matters is the key. Quickly go and invite the goddess out. This person in the lead was at the very least at the major completion phase for interstellar cultivators, yet he wasn't the leader? There was still a person with the title of goddess? Feng Lin's expression didn't change as he took note of all their movements. At this moment, another figure in a divine suit walked over. It was actually a beautiful female. Her eyelashes were long, and she appeared like the incarnation of a vixen, exuding boundless charm. Her mesmerizing aura instantly captured the hearts of these Japanese the moment she appeared. Fumitaro, move out immediately. This matter about the secret realm is extremely important. There can be no delays. The moment this so-called Japan goddess appeared, she immediately gave a command. After that, the Japanese swam even deeper into the depths of the oceanic trench. Could there still be some secrets in the Mariana Trench? Feng Lin followed closely behind. He was sure that these Japanese all came here for a specific purpose. Their route was extremely clear. He was careful to hide his presence. He naturally didn't want anyone to discover him. But luckily, the surroundings were completely dark. There was no light here at all. These people would definitely find it hard to discover him. Also, Feng Lin was using spirit force to track them. He wasn't afraid that they would go missing. He possessed an extreme advantage. However, these Japaneses weren't fools. They were all on the alert and would frequently scan their surroundings. Feng Lin didn't dare to go too near to them. Goddess Fumakuen, you guys feel that this secret realm is really useful? It's able to boost our cultivation greatly before the college exams? The goddess swept her gaze over and coldly replied, the second round of examinations is imminent. It's precisely because this is the first time in Japan's history that we have two people passing the first round of exams of the Cosmos University and 7 people passing the exams of the Interstellar Empire University, that His Majesty allowed us a chance to enter this secret realm. This opportunity is extremely rare, Yamashita-kun. You shouldn't be doubting His Grace. Hi. That Japanese's expression drastically changed when he heard that, and he hurriedly bowed his head and replied respectfully. Mythological secret realm? Feng Lin's heart stirred with excitement when he heard that. A mythological secret realm can be considered one of the most precious types of mythological ruins. In there was an independent pocket world, and it's said that many mythological secret realms preserved a part of the original ancient cultivation civilization's environment. Things were extremely wondrous, and there are naturally countless benefits. This was also the first time Feng Lin found out the existence of a secret realm here. He gradually discovered that as long as he has a connection with the Japanese, he would always be receiving some benefits. Fate sometimes was truly indescribably wondrous. Could it be that the Japanese would be his lucky star? A secret smile appeared on Feng Lin's face. This bunch of Japanese truly became somebody who would gift him fortune. The Japanese hurried on. They seemed to be filled with impatience. Yet, none of them realized they were followed by a hungry wolf. Cultivation art, treasures, resources, I want them all. Very soon, Feng Lin followed them to the bottom of the sea. There was a large piece of empty land here with many underwater mountains, like a submerged mountain range. His heart stirred as thoughts flashed through his mind. Before the Japanese divine pillar existed, a portion of Japan has already sunk into the Mariana Trench. Was it this place? Where's the Yamata no Orochi? The Japaneses couldn't help but feel puzzled when they noticed that there was no commotion here. It should be out hunting for food. Fumitaro, who was in the lead, spoke calmly. The others all nodded. The Yamata no Orochi was a terrifying monster over 100 meters in size. Its need for food was naturally extremely large. It was very normal that it would head out to look for prey. But things were good in this case. If not, they would find it very troublesome with the Yamata no Orochi around. The mythological secret realm was the most important issue. Although the Japanese felt something was strange, they didn't bother to think any deeper about the Yamata no Orochi. They then arrived before a tunnel and entered it. Feng Lin retracted his aura, hiding all traces of his presence as he entered as well. This tunnel here was extremely deep, like a giant snake hole. Could this be what the Yamata no Orochi was guarding? Next, Feng Lin felt anticipation in his heart. Something that required the Yamata no Orochi to guard it would surely be extraordinary. However, he suddenly was shocked. Under his spirit force perception, he discovered that the bunch of Japanese suddenly disappeared into thin air without any traces at all. What situation was this? This bizarre scene caused Feng Lin to be wary. He increased his speed and rushed over. At the end of the tunnel, an underground space appeared. There was an ancient divine shrine immersed in the waters. This shrine was constructed in ancient Japanese style that was thousands of years ago, yet it appeared brand new, with no traces of age at all. Feng Lin scanned the surroundings meticulously and couldn't find anything. He cautiously entered the shrine only to see a 30-meter god statue erected within. This statue was sturdy in build. It has a green face and fangs along with disheveled hair. There was also a savage aura radiating from it, like an Asura in the mortal world, capable of invoking fear in the hearts of people. Where did those Japanese disappeared to? Feng Lin felt that things were getting strange. He circled around the god sculpture and started to survey it. His eyes suddenly paused at the single-edged gigantic sword in the hands of the statue. From the sword, a baleful aura could be sensed. Despite being immersed in water for so many years, there were no signs of rotting at all. This weapon gleamed with sharpness. It was evidently a baleful weapon that had slaughtered countless lives before. Could this be a type of treasure with strange properties? Feng Lin could sense the remnant aura from the sword's edge that there were traces of fresh blood. Clearly, these were the traces left behind by that bunch of Japanese earlier. Maybe this giant sword was switched to allow someone to enter some sort of secret entrance? Feng Lin grew confident. Since those Japanese dared to come to this place, this shouldn't be a death trap. If something unexpected happened, he should also be able to get out. He decisively stretched his palm over and sliced it thinly, allowing his blood to come in contact with the sword's edge. At the next moment, his spirit force was drained by a boundless absorption force. Swish! The water around him spun about rapidly, actually forming into a gigantic vortex of flowing water. At the center, a terrifying black hole appeared. It was like a gate to an unknown world. An unknown force pushed Feng Lin through the gate as he disappeared into the darkness. Chapter 197, Fantasyland of Demons. A vortex appeared in the airspace of this world, and a figure dropped down from it, slamming into the ground. Feng Lin stood up and discovered that his surroundings had changed completely. In this place he was in, green mountains and long rivers could be seen all around. He seemed to be in the middle of the green and lush nature. Was this the mythological secret realm? Feng Lin glanced to the left and right. This secret realm was a world unto its own. Feng Lin could even sense many auras of life in the surroundings, and he could tell that there was also an invisible set of laws governing this pocket world. In that case, the grade of this secret realm shouldn't be low. The foundations of Japanese mythology could not be considered deep. Therefore, the grade of this secret realm should be considered one of the top-tier ones in this country. Just when he was contemplating, he didn't realize that the head of a green and oily figure just popped up on the river's surface. The creature's frog-like eyes were revealed. staring at Feng Lin as the look of greed and hunger could be seen within. It wanted nothing more than to devour Feng Lin. An unpleasant weird noise rang out. A greenskin monster broke the surface of the water. Its hands and legs were webbed, and the instant it appeared, it directly slashed out toward Feng Lin. What the hell is this? Feng Lin felt wariness in his heart. He clenched his fist and instinctively punched out, adding a spin to increase the force. At the moment of contact, he only sensed a layer of oil on the monster's body which rendered it slippery. The impact of his punch was greatly reduced because of this. Creak, creak. The sharp claws left behind tears in his diving suit, and little sparks of flame manifested for a blink of an eye. That figure shot out from the water. Feng Lin looked at it closely and discovered that it was a green-skinned monster that resembled a human. It had a stooped posture and a turtle shell on its back. On a closer look, a pair of incredibly malevolent frog-like eyes could be seen in its visage. It must be a kappa. Feng Lin recognized it in a single glance. This was a local demon in Japanese mythology. It was a kappa. It was similar to water ghosts, but there were some notable differences. The kappa had a malevolent face, and its sharp fangs gleamed with light as smelly drool dripped from its mouth. Its eyes were squashed together, staring at Feng Lin with a look of hunger. Since the secret realm had a world inside it, Feng Lin felt extremely uncomfortable to be wearing a diving suit. He swiftly stripped the suit off and instantly felt much more relaxed after feeling the cool breeze in the air. Come. Seeing that the kappa was clearly taking him as its prey, Feng Lin smiled and made a beckoning gesture. It was as though the kappa felt it was being slighted. Its eyes turned bloodshot as it let out a series of jarring howls. It then leaped up into the air like a frog and slashed its claws toward Feng Lin. A jet of smelly green-colored liquid sprayed out from its mouth. It was clearly filled with vile poison. Although Feng Lin didn't fear it, he didn't wish to let that disgusting stuff touch him. Bzz. The silver scar in the center of his brows flashed as his spirit force manifested into a formless sword, piercing out toward his target. The kappa only felt a sharp sword piercing its brain. It convulsed violently and howled in agony. Feng Lin agilely evaded the poisonous spit. He lunged over and punched out with his fists, hammering down with the force of 1,000 storms. The kappa stood there, as dumb as a wooden chicken. Its large head completely exploded from the might of the blows. A reddish-white gooey brain substance leaked out, and it now resembled a dead frog lying on the ground while its body emitted waves of black-colored chi. Feng Lin discovered that the kappa's body actually turned into a puff of black chi that rapidly vanished, leaving behind an oily green pearl that looked extremely bizarre. He walked over and just as he wanted to pick it up, a swishing sound echoed. A moving thing resembling a limb slithered over swiftly, moving through the underbrush. Chi. Feng Lin's palms sliced out like a saber, ruthlessly going for the kill. From the underbrush, a tree branch was slashed off, writhing on the ground. It looked like a living thing and tree sap flowed from it like blood. However, a second tree branch of the main body had already grabbed hold of the kappa's demon core and was slithering quickly into the forest. Daring to snatch his treasure before his eyes? Feng Lin sneered. He rushed over and slashed out with his palms, unleashing waves of sharpness that severed the tree branch into pieces as he held the demon core in his hand. Whoa! A series of miserable bawling could be heard. The earth trembled. Not far away, a 20-meter huge tree rose from the ground. The veined and knotted tree trunk revealed openings that resembled eyes and nose. It howled and struck out with a branch, whipping it toward Feng Lin. Not all tree demons are like the tree granny in the Chinese ghost story. Feng Lin couldn't be bothered to play around with this ordinary tree demon. Immortal slaying sword imprint. He directly used his strongest technique, his finger transforming into a divine sword. He flew through the air and pierced out. An aura of extreme sharpness congregated on his finger, integrating the strength of his entire body into one point. Right now, he was like an ancient sword immortal riding on a flying sword for 1,000 miles to slay demons. The tree demon wasn't the tree granny, yet Feng Lin's strength now was even higher than Yin Chixia. Under the sword intent he radiated, everything around him crumbled into pieces. Feng Lin's entire person drilled into the trunk of the tree demon with unstoppable momentum. Behind him, the expression of the tree demon froze. After that, it howled in agony and anger, as its gigantic body slowly crumbled into pieces, leaving behind a greenish-black demon core on the ground. The two demons he had killed vanished into thin air, and both of them left behind their demonic cores. Feng Lin grew more and more certain that this wasn't the real world. It should be some sort of fantasy land. His heart stirred. He thought back to the words spoken by those Japanese earlier as a thought appeared in his mind. That divine shrine which was immersed in water, could the statue there be that of the Japanese god, Susanoo? The giant sword in his hands was the famed Kusanagi? It was rumored that this was the sword Susanoo pulled out from the Yamata no Orochi's stomach after he had slain it. Even the godly sword, the sword of Tatsuka, was blunted when it clashed against Kusanagi. Kusanagi no Tsurugi was a legendary sword taken from the strongest demon in legends, the Yamata no Orochi. It was also famed for being a demon sword that contained terrifying powers. Regardless of whether the sword inside the divine shrine being real or fake, Feng Lin had already entered into this fantasy land. He didn't know where those Japanese had gone to, but he knew that if he could find them, he would surely have a way to leave here safely. He held his diving suit in one hand and followed the flowing river, walking down the mountains. From afar, he could see a grass hut in the distance. A granny was sitting outside of the hut and seemed to be sewing a piece of clothing. There are other humans here? After some time, Feng Lin arrived at the hut's vicinity. He walked over and asked in a light voice, "Hey Granny, where is this place?" "Izumo country." That old woman lowered her head. Her hair was white and dried up like withered grass as she replied in a hoarse voice. "Izumo country?" Feng Lin connected the dots. Wasn't this the place in the legends where Susanoo killed Yamata no Orochi? This definitely wasn't a coincidence. "Little fellow, you are a stranger from faraway lands, right? Did you lose your way? Come to Granny's house to eat a piping hot rice ball." The granny seemed to be very concerned about Feng Lin and invited him, radiating a feeling of magnificent hospitality. "Treating me a rice ball?" Feng Lin looked at the tattered and dilapidated environment of the granny's house as a teasing smile appeared on his face. In Japan, in the ancient era, rice balls were something only nobles could eat. For the poor commoners, they wouldn't even be able to eat one in their entire lives. Yet, this old granny actually was going to treat him, a stranger, to a piping hot rice ball? Wasn't this a naked attempt to lure someone? His gaze turned solemn as he discovered some traces that something was wrong. The face of this granny was hidden in her hair and wasn't revealed at all. Her back was bent, and under the sunlight, her figure actually cast no shadows. This granny didn't have a shadow. Feng Lin glanced at the dark grass hut as he coldly laughed. "There's no need. I'm afraid if I entered, I wouldn't be able to exit." The granny trembled, her voice quivered. "Young man, are you joking?" "I'm not joking in the slightest." "Vile creature, show me your true appearance." Feng Lin couldn't be bothered to waste words. He directly punched out. His punch force generated a hurricane that swept over. A moment later, a sharp piercing scream rang out from the granny as she revealed her true appearance. So it turned out that the grass hut was her main body. It was actually a gigantic head. The door that led to the grass hut was actually her giant mouth. Her blood-red eyes stared at Feng Lin as they flashed with greed. Earlier, if Feng Lin entered, he would definitely be devoured completely. Earthbound spirit. Feng Lin could tell what this demon was with a single glance. He could finally be sure that this pocket world was a fantasy land of demons. Chapter 198, Slaying Demons, Eradicating Devils. You're actually able to discover my true form. However, everything is useless. I'm going to eat you today. It has been a very long time since I feasted on a human's flesh and blood. I'm really so hungry, too hungry. That giant head let out weird cries. A black wind then manifested, wanting to tear Feng Lin into pieces to make it easier for it to swallow him. This earthbound spirit was a demon whose movements were restricted. It could only move within a certain boundary. Hence, they would usually transform into old grannies, beautiful young ladies, widows, all sorts of forms in order to wait for their prey to enter willingly. Once their prey entered their boundary, they could simply swallow them up. However, Feng Lin was astute enough to notice the truth. If he was fooled and was swallowed by the demon, the consequences would be unimaginably dire. Boom! The demonic chi gusted wildly, and the stones and gravel on the ground started flying around. The giant head of the earthbound spirit rushed over in a frenzy, wrenching its mouth open and wanting to bite Feng Lin into pieces. Feng Lin leaped up into the air. The earthbound spirit exhaled, generating a gust of black wind that sent stones shooting toward him. Feng Lin unleashed a flurry of blows, rebounding those stones back to the earthbound spirit and causing it to scream in pain. It suddenly widened its mouth and drew in a deep breath, wanting to draw everything in. A fearsome absorption force could suddenly be felt in the air. Feng Lin's body fell from the air rapidly, being drawn in by the earthbound spirit. If he entered the demon's stomach, he most probably wouldn't have his bones left. Everything would be devoured. These demons had all sorts of bizarre and strange abilities. Thus, they could be extremely difficult to deal with. Feng Lin used his spirit force and activated the cloud soar ability, resisting that absorption force as he peered downward. Staring at the earthbound spirit's body that was covered in a layer of black fog, his heart stirred. Earthbound spirits were a type of soul that remained bound to the earth due to their feelings of resentment and vengeance. By nature, they were a kind of demon with a spirit body. Since this was the case, wouldn't spirit attacks work against them? Feng Lin unleashed his spirit force, converging it together and forming a sword of golden light. After that, he ferociously pierced the sword into the earthbound spirit's forehead. The moment his spirit sword pierced into his target, his mind felt as though it had fallen into a consciousness filled with sinister gloominess. There were countless chaotic thoughts here. Feng Lin didn't hesitate. He controlled the sword intent of the golden sword and destroyed all of these evil chaotic thoughts within the consciousness. The earthbound spirit cried in misery as its body began to dissipate, transforming into black smoke before vanishing into thin air. It only left behind a black-colored round-shaped object. Feng Lin sent out a strand of his psychokinesis energy and moved the black pearl through the air into his hands. It felt cool to the touch. Up until now, he had already obtained a total of 3 demon cores. These should be considered the equivalent to transcendent organs that were the essence of the demon's cultivation. They were all extremely valuable. Next, as Feng Lin continued walking through this land, there would frequently be demons and monsters appearing to attack him. There were all sorts of demons here, cats with 2 tails known as Nakomata, birds with human heads known as Ubum, and long-necked demons known as Hituban. He showed no mercy, destroying all of the supernatural creatures when he encountered them. These supernatural creatures were either demons, devils, ghosts, or monsters. For the illusory beings like ghosts and devils, he would be fine as long as his spirit force was strong enough. he was able to destroy them easily since they had a spirit-based body. The earthbound spirit from before was a very good example of this. Demons and monsters were tougher to deal with in comparison, as they possessed a physical body. Feng Lin had to exhaust a great deal of effort to destroy them. There were many obstacles as he journeyed on. The demons and monsters here seemed endless in number and would lunge over the moment they sensed fresh blood and meat. However, all of them died miserable deaths under Feng Lin. The different demons and monsters from the Japanese mythology appeared one after another. This was truly a world of demons. There didn't seem to be any native humans here. Feng Lin had a look of contemplation on his face. In Japanese mythology, ghosts, demons, monsters, and devils were no different from immortals, gods, saints, and Buddhas. The only difference was that they were worshipped and enshrined, and the others weren't. No matter how terrifying a monster was or how many humans it had eaten, as long as there were people who worshipped and enshrined it, it would be a deity. This was also the reason why a small country like Japan had over 800 million gods. In actuality, according to the strict grading system of Huaxia mythology, many of those Japanese gods were simply over-exaggerated legends. They were not legitimate at all. There were simply too many evil divine beings that mortals couldn't believe in, and they also weren't able to maintain the order of the three realms. All of this resulted in the grading of Japanese gods becoming very low, and their authority was also very small. Although the demons and monsters of Japanese mythology were bizarre, their strength wasn't that powerful. Compared to the demons and monsters of Huaxia mythology, who could destroy the world at a whim, their strength was simply of a different class. Only the Yamata no Orochi, Shutendoji, Daitengu, and the Kyubi no Kitsune, nine-tailed fox, could be categorized as supreme demons. Also, given that this pocket world was a fantasy land, the strength of the demons and monsters here would surely be reduced in comparison to the real demons and monsters. As Feng Lin traveled, he showed no mercy, obliterating all demons and devils he came across. After the devils and demons died, they would vanish and leave behind demon cores of different colors, which contained various types of wondrous energy within. Without realizing it, the sky turned dark as heavy rain started to fall. Feng Lin found a dilapidated-looking temple. And after seeing that nothing was out of the ordinary here, he decided to stay there for the night. After lighting a bonfire, he took out the demon cores he had acquired and started to survey them. These demon cores greatly resembled the snake gall treasure pearls he had obtained from the Yamata no Orochi, but they were much smaller in size. Their energy level also wasn't high. However, these demon cores served the same purpose as transcendent organs. They were the essence of life energy of the demons and monsters. Seeing that the energy level in the demon cores was not too high, Feng Lin also couldn't be bothered to concoct genetic potions with them. Given his current vitality stats, even if he were to swallow a golden pellet now, he would still be able to digest the energy within. Hence, to him, these small demon cores could simply be treated as snacks. Feng Lin decisively took one up and swallowed it. The demon core instantly transformed into waves of warmth. He then activated the transforming energy into Qi technique and rapidly converted the energy contained in the demon core into genetic potential, storing it in his body. Genetic potential plus 28%, plus 28%, plus 28%. In total, he gained 336% worth of genetic potential from a single demon core. Feng Lin was like a kid that ate a delicious candy. He licked his lips in satisfaction, and his hunger was not sated yet. The quality of this demon core wasn't in any way inferior to a perfect-grade genetic potion. The demon cores contained the essence of the demons, and the effects were excellent. However, Feng Lin felt that something was wrong. Why would the Japanese go through so much trouble, diving into the depths of the Mariana Trench just to obtain these demon cores? Things didn't feel right. It would be great if he could capture one of them who came in here and get some answers from him. Sadly, the space in this fantasy land of demons was simply too vast. Those who had entered seemed to have been teleported randomly through the pocket world. Fenglin also had no idea where those Japanese were at. But luckily, there were still over 20 days' worth of time before the second round of examinations at Cosmos University. He wasn't in a hurry at all. He had enough time to slowly play with these Japanese. Fenglin then sat down to adjust his breathing, using meditation to replace sleep as he also continued to cultivate. The rain was extremely heavy, and it didn't stop even when it was late in the night. Pitter-patter. The sounds of someone rapidly making his way on the wet ground rang out. It was possible that this person had seen the light of the bonfire and was hurrying over. Is it Fumakuen or Yamashita-kun? Or is it the goddess? I'm Yamamoto Ishiro, a loud voice drifted from afar, filled with the joy of having just survived a tribulation. Fenglin's eyes opened wide, and he saw someone in black attire barging his way to the temple, resembling an ancient ninja. When that person saw Fenglin, the smile on his face drastically changed as he howled in rage. Baka! Who are you exactly? How did you enter the Kusanagi secret realm? Even before he finished speaking, Fenglin already moved. His entire person transformed into afterimages as he lunged over. Fenglin's hands took on the form of claws as he grabbed toward this man's head, wanting to subdue him in a single move. Chapter 199, The Pathetic Ninja. Talk about the devil and the devil will arrive. Fenglin had been worried about not being able to find the Japanese, and behold, one of them just appeared before his eyes. Such prey that came to him voluntarily, how could he let him off so easily? Fenglin leaped up in the air and swooped down like an eagle hunting its prey. His claw grabbed over, wanting to capture the Japanese. The ninja saw how fierce Fenglin was. He reacted extremely quickly and folded numerous hand seals. Smoke jutsu. Vapors appeared beneath his feet alongside with the sound of an explosion, completely engulfing him within the smoke. Fenglin's claw force swept out, but the ninja had already vanished completely. Ninjutsu? Fenglin stared at the surroundings as he silently mused. Ninjas were considered a class of cultivators from ancient Japanese records. They were proficient in using all sorts of secretive abilities and carried out assassinations in the dark. Swish, swish, swish. At the corner of his vision, 3 beams of green light flashed. Fenglin sent out his palm strike over, knocking aside 3 shurikens. The shurikens were knocked to the ground, and they were coated in green poison with a terrible fishy smell. Great fireball jutsu. A voice shouted. A black silhouette jumped up from behind Fenglin. After folding hand seals, he breathed out as a giant fireball erupted forth, causing the temperature to rise. This ninja still needed to call out the name of his technique every time he attacked. A cold smile appeared on Fenglin's lips. He crossed his arms before his chest and allowed the attack to hit him. Although he was uninjured, his clothes were burned and tattered, as ashes covered his face. His gaze was like a sword. He discovered that the ninja had already hidden away like a cowardly mouse after that attack, not revealing any trace of his presence. Fenglin wasn't feeling panicky at all. The so-called concealment arts of ninjutsu were all diversionary tactics. In truth, they were a sort of illusion, making use of sounds, line of sight as well as the formless and ethereal spirit force to create a misconception. The silver light from the center of his brows shone brightly as his spirit force gushed forth. It was like a gentle wind breezing through all 4 directions. Nothing could be masked from his perception. Very soon, he discovered something strange. In a corner of the dilapidated temple, a black-robed figure could be seen. He had a bizarre-looking black cloth made from unknown materials in his hands and was currently using that to cover his body, hiding in the darkness. The ninja's presence was completely covered up. He stood there unmovingly, yet he didn't know that he had already been detected by Feng Lin's perception. Feng Lin pretended not to notice and continued searching the surroundings while casually slowly making his way over. When he got to a near enough distance, he suddenly erupted with speed and instantly drawing close. Vajra Dragon Claw. The claws of Feng Lin instantly widened in the ninja's vision. Claw shadows filled his surroundings, giving the ninja no room to evade. Damn! The ninja's heart fell to the bottom of the valley. He initially wanted to mount a sneak attack when Feng Lin was unaware. He didn't expect that his presence would be revealed so quickly, and this young man even played around with him to close in. What a cunning fellow! Feng Lin acted quickly, not giving the ninja any chance to breathe. The ninja basically had no space to hide and could only perform a series of hand seals with explosive speed. Earth Evasion Jutsu. His entire person sank into the ground like a drill. Feng Lin's claw grabbed the thin air, crushing the thin walls behind the ninja. He glanced at the hole on the ground only to see the ninja tunneling with great speed, like a rat scuttering underground. Wanting to leave? Feng Lin's foot stomped lightly on the ground. He pushed off from the impact and became after images, chasing after that ninja. His spirit force seeped under the ground, acting like radar and locking on to the position of that ninja. Boom, boom, boom. Feng Lin's punches were like thunder, blasting out with ruinous might. The immense power used the air as a medium and acted like air cannons blasting the ground, causing the stones and gravel to fly around. The ninja tunneled through the ground, and his forehead was covered in his perspiration. This man chasing him had an ordinary appearance and didn't seem muscular at all. Why would his attacks be so tyrannical? He must be a brute. As for him, what he used was ninjutsu and he was proficient in acting in the dark. If he was to fight in the open, he naturally wouldn't be able to contend against such tyrannical might. He had to break away from it as quickly as possible. The ninja continued tunneling underground, changing his directions frequently. Sadly, he started to discover that no matter what he did, he wasn't able to break free from Feng Lin. All his actions were being tracked perfectly. Under Feng Lin's spirit force, all illusionary techniques were rendered useless. Once he locked onto you, there would be no way you could ever escape. That ninja gradually felt that he was forced to a dead end. This cannot continue on. The ninja gritted his teeth. The other party must have an unfathomable method to track him. Since he wasn't able to escape, he would risk his life and struggle in a direct fight then. A ninja who met the standard was one that had experienced countless slaughters. Their combat experience was extremely wealthy. This ninja understood his current situation, and at this moment, a bestial aura awakened in his heart. Since he couldn't hide, let's fight then. He was prepared to fight Feng Lin with his life on the line. Bang! The surface of the ground exploded, and the ninja transformed into a cloud of black smoke as he leaped out. A katana could be seen in his hand as he slashed down from the air. Slashing down with the force of the wind. The edge of the sword gleamed sharply, slicing the air apart. A visible sword force manifested in the air, slashing downward with no mercy. The destructive aura of the sword force was so great that the ground below was already riddled with holes. Swish! The ninja spun about in the air, slashing out strands of sword force that were as tightly packed as rain. After that, he drew strange-looking words on yellow-colored charms and tossed them out in the air. With a thunderous explosion, the yellow charms transformed into wind, fire, thunder, earth, all sorts of energy attacks as they engulfed Feng Lin completely. Zzz. Shurikens. A cold light flashed in the surroundings. Once the ninja gained an advantage, he directly went all out in a ruthless manner, wanting to finish Feng Lin for good. Ding, ding, ding. Clouds of dust covered Feng Lin, and the sound of shurikens striking metal could be heard. Sparks could also be seen generated. This sound was completely wrong. After the clouds of dust dissipated, Feng Lin leaped out from it. Other than his clothing being ragged, he was completely uninjured. You had enough fun, right? Next, it is my turn now. Feng Lin coldly spoke. His formless spirit force formed a rope and tied the ninja up securely. Psychokinesis? The expression on the ninja's face drastically changed. Psychokinesis shouldn't be that powerful, right? Why was it so strong? He felt that his body was bound by iron. He couldn't even move at all. Staring at the fear in his eyes, Feng Lin coldly smiled. How could this man know of the mysteries of the Sun Wukong mythological path? His spirit gene was already strengthened to 6. Even for the formless and ethereal psychokinesis, his strength and control in this aspect were now extremely strong. He was able to lift objects up to 6 tons in weight. It was totally conceivable that the majority of humans wouldn't be able to break free from his grasp. Bone contraction jutsu. The ninja might not be powerful, but he had many methods at his disposal. His body rapidly shrank and was like a boneless snake, slithering out from the rope. Feng Lin sent out another strand of his spirit force, forming a large net that wrapped around the ninja. Wall-penetrating jutsu. The ninja's body turned illusory, transforming into smoke and wanting to pass through the net. Feng Lin's spirit force changed again. It became like the raging ferocious wind, forming a vortex that trapped the ninja within, not allowing him to escape. Clone jutsu. His spirit force became like a sword and pierced out, destroying the clone with ease. The ninja tried out all his techniques but had no way to run from Feng Lin. To his despair, he discovered that all his methods were completely useless under Feng Lin's spirit force. What a tragedy! Completely useless under Feng Lin's spirit force. What a tragedy! Chapter 200, Kusanagi Sword. Now, his spirit force transformed into an invisible rope once more, wrapping around the ninja's neck. No matter where the ninja fled to, he would simply be a kite with a string attached to him. Once Feng Lin pulled the string, the ninja wouldn't be able to go anywhere. Feng Lin no longer wanted to play around with him. After wasting so much time fighting against this ninja, Feng Lin gradually understood the ninja's entire repertoire. Ninjas like him could excel in assassinations and sneak attacks, but they would be extremely inferior if they fought openly in combat. One could only say that his luck was awful for meeting Feng Lin. It was a tragedy for him. He used all his methods and techniques, but everything was useless. A serene glow flickered in Feng Lin's eyes. His gaze was immeasurably deep, swallowing all light. His spirit force was unleashed to its maximum power. It formed a chain that wrapped itself around the ninja, hoisting him up in the air. The ninja, Yamamoto Ichiro, had his eyes opened wide in terror. His fingers were bound completely, and he couldn't try any tricks at all. Feng Lin walked over and stared directly into his eyes. He coldly asked, "Why did you guys come into this fantasy land of demons? This is a secret of our country. Do you think I will tell you the truth?" Yamamoto Ichiro gritted his teeth. He had a baleful look on his face and was prepared to die by biting his tongue. You think it's so easy to die? Feng Lin was on guard against this. These Japanese would always commit seppuku for whatever reason they wanted to. Feng Lin exerted force with his hand and grabbed his throat, rendering the ninja to be unable to bite his tongue. He couldn't die even if he wanted to. Bang! Feng Lin's palm smacked the top of the ninja's head, causing him to faint. When he awoke, the ninja only saw finger movements before his eyes. Yin-yang mirror imprint. Feng Lin's fingers danced in the air like butterflies flying under the moon. The formless spirit force gushed into his target's mind, hypnotizing him. After awakening the spirit gene and strengthening it to 6, Feng Lin's hypnotism techniques were much stronger than before. He could silently hypnotize others, and at the very least, his proficiency had reached that of a mid-grade hypnotist. Even peak-level interstellar cultivators would be affected by him. This ninja was soon unable to resist. His consciousness sank into the boundless darkness. "What is your group's intention in coming here?" Feng Lin asked again. "Capturing Shikigami, subduing the Kusanagi sword." The ninja's eyes were dazed as he answered. Feng Lin's heart stirred as he continued his questioning. This Yamamoto Ichiro's mental defense had already been broken through. He was helpless to resist and revealed the secrets in his heart. Feng Lin also finally knew of their true purposes for coming here. The Kusanagi sword was a demon's sword dug out from the stomach of the Yamada no Orochi by Susanoo. Mortals couldn't come in contact with it, or they would be put under a venomous curse. Their deaths would all be extremely miserable, and they would die without a full corpse. The true demon's sword had long since vanished in the river of time. The sword in the shrine, which was the entrance key point, was just a high-grade imitation. But it was left behind by the ancient civilizations. Even if it only had 1% of the original's power, the might it could unleash was still unfathomable. The demon's sword in the shrine would allow one to enter a separate dimension. In this pocket world, the demons found here were the essence extracts of all demons killed by the imitation Kusanagi sword. With it, the sword was able to form a fantasy land of demons. The most powerful demon inside here was the world-destroying Yamada no Orochi. It was the weapon spirit of the Kusanagi sword. So if one could kill or subdue the Yamada no Orochi in this pocket world, they would become the owner of the Kusanagi sword. The owner of the sword could use the demon essence extracts to strengthen himself. They would aid the owner in breaking through the limits of cultivation. This point caused Feng Lin to stir with excitement. Right now, he was at the grand completion phase of the interstellar cultivator realm. If he could gain the support from the demon sword, wouldn't he be able to break through to the paragon phase? He might even be able to break through the vitality stats limit of 100 points. Although he wouldn't be at the elite cultivator realm after that, as long as he took that half a step, he would break the limits of his current life force and gain a partial transcendent physique. As for making use of demonic energy, Feng Lin wasn't worried at all. Energy had no classification, and it could not be segregated into categories of good or evil. The nature of the humans using them would be the determinant. As interstellar cultivators, such energy merely played a supporting role. If their minds were controlled by this energy, wouldn't the cultivator be nothing but a joke? What are Shikigami? How can you control them? Feng Lin asked. Yamamoto Ichiro answered honestly, not concealing anything. So it turned out that the Japanese knew the genetic formula of a certain mythological path. This mythological path was known as the Onmyoji mythological path. The one walking on this path would then be able to awaken the Onmyoji gene and refine the demons they killed for their own usages, future summons, or to strengthen themselves. The genetic formula of the Onmyoji gene was also divulged. Onmyoji gene equals mental gene X8 plus minor ghost gene X6 plus minor demon gene X6. You're just a ninja. You have not awakened the Shikigami gene yet, so how can you capture them? Feng Lin asked. The ninja answered with nothing reserved. So it turned out that those who walked on this Onmyoji mythological path were able to use their own energy to create certain items and treasures that would allow them to subdue ghosts and demons. However, there was a huge limitation to this. One item could only subdue one entity. Only true Onmyoji would have no limitations on the number of subdued spirits, as long as they had sufficient mental energy. Next, Feng Lin got the ninja to reveal the treasure he created. It was a purple-colored gourd with mysterious runes inscribed on its surface. There were other mysterious tools too. For example, that black-colored concealment cloth, a painted skin that could allow one to change their appearance, smoke bomb, etc. There were many items with strange effects. After entering the fantasy land of demons, we would be randomly teleported all around. How are you guys planning to kill the Yamata no Orochi? Feng Lin asked. The power of the Yamata no Orochi is too terrifying, and it's very difficult to kill it head-on. Hence, after we entered and teleported to different locations in Izumo country, we will first subdue other powerful demons as our Shikagamis. After that, we will pool our strengths together along with the Shikagamis we subdued and fight the Great Serpent. This is a plan made by an elder, thus, the success rate of this plan is the greatest. Yamamoto Ichiro replied with no spirit in his eyes. Oh. Feng Lin then asked the crucial question. Tell me about the abilities of your teammates. Yamamoto Ichiro couldn't resist and completely revealed the abilities of his fellow comrades. Among us, Fumataro is the strongest in terms of combat. He is walking on the wind demon mythological path, inherited by the Fuma clan through the generations. He has already awakened a variation grade primeval gene, the Windsword gene, and strengthened it to 7 points. Basically, any gusts of wind in the surroundings can be used by him to unleash his wind-slaying swordplay. As for Tanaka Keisuke, he awakened a high-grade primeval gene named the Fire Ghost gene and has strengthened it to 4 points. He can transform into a fire ghost and control both fire and ghost-type energy. As for Matsumoto Mayama, he awakened a high-grade primeval gene named the Earthquake gene. He can control the pulse of the Great Earth, as expected of the elites from Japan. Feng Lin discovered that the primeval genes these guys awakened were all at the high grade and above. What about the goddess? He couldn't help but be curious. This ninja spoke for so long, but he didn't mention anything about that demonic-looking beauty at all. What sort of mythological path is she walking on? A look of struggle could be seen on Yamamoto Ichiro's face. He stuttered as he spoke. She is the scion of the great god Amaterasu. She walks on the Amaterasu mythological path, and her abilities are, he. As he spoke, his throat suddenly choked and he couldn't say anything more. Feng Lin glanced over in surprise only to see the ninja bleeding from his 7 apertures before suddenly dying. Clearly, his body was modified. Once he leaked something he wasn't authorized to talk about, he would die instantly. Although he didn't obtain any secrets regarding the goddess, Feng Lin already understood many things. Given his level of understanding toward Japanese mythology, he might even be superior compared to these people. Just from knowing which mythological path the goddess was on, Feng Lin could already deduce many things.